Preparing food and drink manufacturing businesses for change in the years up to 2020 is the subject of this year's Food Safety Conference. I'm Mike Stones for Food Manufacture, and joining me to discuss its significance is John Barnes. John is a food safety consultant, formerly head of local delivery at the Food Standards Agency. John, what do you hope this year's conference will achieve?
Well, I'm hoping that people leaving the conference will have a better idea of what changes are likely over the next 1 to 5 years, and also ways in which they might be able to prepare themselves for these changes. More importantly, with regard to my presentation, I want to give them an idea of what's driving the changes and the benefits that might accrue to consumers in industry from those.
So is this solely about preparing their business for the challenges of Brexit?
No, this isn't just about Brexit. This is something that's being realised by governments, actually not only in the UK but across the globe, that they have to look at the best way in which to regulate an industry which is now a global food industry. And the current controls, certainly in the UK, are ones that have been around for decades, which are about local enforcement and about inspections. We actually need to gear the systems to recognise the successful and massive investment that industry itself has made in assuring their food safety systems, and in doing so target the public resource to the best effect, and making use of all the things that are around now, such as data, internet, social media, to leverage behavioural change not only in the industry but in consumers, giving them greater transparency to actually make much more informed choices.
And as food and drink manufacturers are increasingly required to operate in a global market, what will that do to food safety challenges, do you think?
The food safety challenges, I think we have to accept, in a global food market are going to be global, and the controls that we have can't be just focused on the UK. So it is about how we use data, global data, and about how we're able to pass on information to industry, between government and industry, to help them better regulate and better assure their food control system.
How prepared are manufacturers to appraise their food safety standards?
Well, I think clearly that's a question better asked of the food manufacturing businesses themselves. But what we would certainly want to do, or what I would want to do in this conference, is to give them some ideas of the big issues that they're going to be facing, to make sure that they're as best prepared as they possibly can be.
So who would benefit from attending this year's safety conference?
Well, I think anybody that exports goods, I think that would certainly be a given, because there'll be some huge opportunities here and also some threats that they need to be aware of. But the changes to the food control system in the UK are going to be domestic also. So anybody just trading in the domestic market needs to be aware of what is likely to come over the horizon, and more importantly, why it's coming over and the ways in which they can benefit and create opportunities from that.
So, with Britain poised to quit the EU and the single market, what are the implications, the food safety implications of that for manufacturers?
Well, as many people will say, when you're exporting, you're going to have to follow possibly even EU or global standards anyway. But also, there's many changes going on in other countries in the way in which they can augment their national control systems and their import control procedures by making more use of data provided by industry to get much quicker and safer food transported across the globe.
And finally, a sneak preview of your paper on earned recognition.
Well, I'm going to cover earned recognition, which in essence is about recognising what industry is doing itself a lot more in the way in which you focus your own UK control systems. So the more that industry does to assure its food safety, the less the national control competent authority would need to do. So it really recognises what industry itself is doing, and it means that they can target on those parts of the industry that actually aren't fully compliant, operate poor standards, and actually undermine the safety of consumers and also undermine the confidence in the whole food industry itself.
But isn't earned recognition in this age of austerity simply a means of transferring costs from government to manufacturers?
I don't think it is. I think it's a way of recognising what manufacturers are doing in a much more formal way than has ever been done previously. I actually see it as a way to get much more from less public resource, but actually giving proper recognition to what industry itself is doing to protect the whole of the supply chain, which now is global and actually can't be controlled in the same way as it has been over the last 30 or 40 years.
John Barnes on this year's Food Safety Conference at Woodland Grange, Warwickshire on June the 22nd. Thank you very much. This is Mike Stones for Food Manufacture.